Okay, let's unpack this. The Horn of Africa has been absolutely churning with activity, not just locally, but really on the global stage. We've got a stack of updates from late August that paint a picture of, well, intense conflict, strategic maneuvering, and some pretty ambitious development, too.
It's definitely a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it really feels like it.
And your sources, they really lay bare a region in constant motion, where every significant event sends out multiple interconnected ripples.
Exactly.
So our mission today, I think, is to cut through all that noise, distill these diverse reports, and help you grasp the core narratives. Maybe you find those surprising connections shaping the Horn right now.
Think of it as your shortcut to understanding the why behind the headlines.
Precisely.
From these deadly clashes with ISIS and Puntland to a renewed diplomatic dance around the Nile, and even, a historic children's museum opening in Ethiopia. It's all here.
And it's all connected.
It is, in ways you might not expect. So we're going to help you grasp the strategic maneuvering, the maybe surprising partnerships, and those underlying currents defining the future of this vital region.
Get ready for some genuine aha moments, hopefully.
Let's dive in. So here's where it gets really interesting straight away. We've seen some incredibly deadly clashes this past week. They demand our attention first. Our sources report heavy fighting in Puntland's Balad Valley, specifically in the Kalmascad Mountains, around August 23rd.
Yes, that was a particularly severe confrontation.
Tragically, yeah. At least 20 Puntland soldiers killed, over 30 wounded.
And the battle, it actually started the day before the 22nd and raged for hours. Definitely one of the deadliest encounters in recent months.
And Puntland forces, we hear, are still encircling the Maragade well, where ISIS fighters and their families are trapped.
That's the report. But what's striking here really is the sheer resilience and, frankly, the sophistication of this ISIS threat.
Right, because military officials are reporting seizing key strongholds.
Which does offer a glimmer of hope, absolutely. But the fact that U.S. airstrikes were needed, backing local forces, that points to the scale of the challenge.
Yes.
The key insight, I think, is that ISIS isn't just some local insurgency here. Their tactics repeated suicide bombing, sniper fire, like that deadly attack on August 27th that killed 23 more soldiers. They mirrored defensive strategies we saw in Iraq, Syria, Libya.
Okay, so that suggests...
It strongly suggests the presence of veteran IS fighters, maybe even global leadership involvement. It indicates ISIS is strategically trying to carve out a real geopolitical foothold in Puntland.
Turning it into a hub.
Potentially. A new hub for global IS networks. It's a far more calculated threat than many might realize, I think.
That's a critical insight, because ISIS isn't the only security challenge making headlines, is it?
Not at all. Internal conflicts elsewhere in Somalia are escalating too, and they're having significant ripple effects spilling over borders, particularly impacting Kenya.
Right. We've seen intensifying conflict in Somalia's Jubaland region. That's between federal forces and Jubaland loyalists, mainly July through August.
Leading to armed clashes right near the Kenya-Somalia border.
And the human toll is stark. Over 5,000 Somali refugees crossed into Kenya's Mandera County.
Occupying local schools, disrupting education just before exams.
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian issue layered onto a security one.
And Mandera Governor Mohammed Khalif was quite vocal, unequivocally condemning it. He even accused Jubaland forces of setting up camp in a school and worried about alleged cooperation between the KDF, the Kenya Defense Forces, and Jubaland forces.
Yeah, and this whole situation, it reveals a significant strategic pivot for Kenya.
Yeah.
Historically, Nairobi backed Jubaland, right, as a buffer against al-Shabaab.
Yes.
But with defections, indiscipline within those forces, that strategy is becoming, well, precarious.
So Kenya's changing tack.
They seem to be realigning, recognizing Mogadishu as Somalia's sole legitimate authority. That's a major shift. It shows Kenya's deep concern for regional stability.
Okay.
And we see Kenya proactively mediating now between Somalia's federal government and Jubaland leadership, focusing on constitutional and electoral reforms.
So it's a real balancing act for them.
Absolutely. Humanitarian obligations, border security, diplomatic alignment. It's incredibly complex and evolving fast.
Okay, so beyond these immediate conflicts, your sources also reveal this fascinating multi-layered dance of diplomacy and strategic rivalry playing out. Everyone seems to have their own agenda.
That's the Horn for you. Always complex.
A major development here is Egypt formally joining ASOM, the AU Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia. They committed over 1,000 troops and police units back in January 2025.
Right, alongside Uganda, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Kenya. Significant contributions all around.
On the surface, it looks like a collective regional effort, but digging into our sources, there are deeper tensions here, aren't there? Conflicting interests within this mission.
Oh, absolutely. What's truly fascinating is how Egypt's deployment isn't just about Somalia. It's a calculated geopolitical maneuver. And it's directly linked to that long-standing Nile dispute with Ethiopia.
The GERD, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
Exactly. Ethiopia views Egypt's presence in Somalia as a real threat, especially given Cairo already has a bilateral military pact with Somalia troop and weapon transfers included.
So Ethiopia sees this as Egypt trying to undermine them.
Precisely. Undermine them amidst the escalating tensions over the GERD, which is set for inauguration very soon in September. Egypt's foreign minister launched a diplomatic push in August, rejecting unilateral actions on the Nile.
While Ethiopia insists the GERD ensures equitable water use, and it's a sovereign milestone.
Right. And this strategic play by Egypt, it's reinforced by its security alliances with Somalia and Eritrea. They formed that tripartite bloc back in October 2024. It signals a deeper regional engagement by Egypt aimed squarely at pressuring Ethiopia.
And Ethiopia's response?
Their ambassador to Somalia basically questioned Egypt's peacekeeping record elsewhere and warned of appropriate responses if there's any interference with Ethiopian operations in Somalia.
Wow. So the stakes around water resources are really spilling over into security alliances.
They've never been higher or more intertwined.
It's clear the Nile dispute is popping up in unexpected places. But okay, beyond these regional rivalries, global powers are also very active. Let's shift focus a bit to China. They're a consistent, growing player in the Horn with interests from governance to trade.
A major force.
Somalia's Prime Minister, Hamza Abdi Barre, met the Chinese ambassador Wang Yu in August and then traveled to China for the China Arab States Expo.
And Somalia thanked China publicly for multifaceted support: politics, security, development, humanitarian aid.
But how is China really using this influence? What are the underlying objectives beyond just support?
Well, the talks definitely went beyond pleasantries. Our sources reveal Beijing pressed Mogadishu quite directly, actually, on Somaliland's expanding ties with Taiwan.
Ah, the Taiwan issue. Those maritime security and fisheries deals.
Exactly. China sees that as a direct challenge to its one China policy and its regional influence. Beijing's also signaling keen interest in broader Somali political dynamics, the northeast state, the Odal region.
Seen as pressure points against Somaliland's autonomy drive.
Potentially, yes. And you also had that delegation of Somali MPs attending a CCP-led governance seminar in Beijing. That shows a strategic focus on cultivating influence among Somali political elites.
It's a multi-pronged approach, then.
Very much so. China's people-centered governance philosophy, which they highlighted at a human rights forum in Ethiopia, presents an interesting contrast with its quite assertive geopolitical maneuvering. It's a sophisticated strategy they're playing out.
Okay, and then there's the UAE, another major external player, but their interests seem varied, sometimes even conflicting.
Highly complex role, the UAE's.
His Excellency Sheikh Shakbout bin Nahyan visited Mogadishu late August, delivering a message from the UAE president. Discussions emphasize strengthening ties, security, trade, development, infrastructure, humanitarian support.
Seems straightforward on the surface.
But the UAE's history in the region is anything but simple, right?
Absolutely. The inherent conflict in the UAE strategy is its historical support for entities like Puntland and Somaliland.
Which strains relations with Mogadishu.
Consistently. Over federal authority, territorial disputes. So while they pledge support to the federal government, they maintain these other alignments. It creates friction.
And Somali officials reportedly raised other concerns too.
Yes. Worries that UAE support for Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, could destabilize the broader Horn. That's a huge concern given the war in Sudan.
Plus, reports of illegal gold exports.
From Puntland to Dubai, yes, amid ongoing conflicts. Raises questions about resource governance and who benefits. So the UAE remains a major strategic actor, balancing all these interests. But its complex web of alignments makes its role exceptionally tricky to track and often contentious for others in the region.
All right, so amidst all these high-stakes rivalries and security challenges, it's not all conflict. Many countries are forging ahead with diverse partnerships, ambitious development goals. glimmers of a more stable future, perhaps?
Definitely. There's a lot of forward momentum alongside the challenges.
Ethiopia, in particular, seems to be casting a very wide net for partnerships and development.
They really are.
Our sources show this flurry of activity: cultural diplomacy with the Czech Republic for Ethiopia's first children's museum,
Backed by Czech government support. That's significant.
an Israeli volunteer medical mission treating over 1,600 patients, Colombia reopening its embassy after 50 years.
Viewing Ethiopia as a key partner for trade, investment, tourism.
Even Ethiopia's Air Force commander visiting Pakistan for military cooperation, and its embassy in New Delhi actively courting Indian businesses.
Positioning Ethiopia as a gateway. Inviting investment in agro-processing, IT, renewables. Highlighting their low-power tariffs.
What does this incredibly broad outreach tell us about Ethiopia's long-term vision?
It truly highlights Ethiopia's strategic drive for modernization, its ambition to become a regional economic powerhouse. It's not just random deals, it's foundational.
Right.
Think about the $2.5 billion Dangote fertilizer plant announced in Goad, set to produce 3 million metric tons of urea annually. That's 4 times Ethiopia's current demand.
Huge.
Massive. Combine that with the GRD's energy exports to neighbors like Djibouti, Kenya, Sudan. These projects underscore a clear ambition for economic integration and projecting soft power through essential resources. They're strategically laying groundwork.
Okay, and Kenya is equally proactive, isn't it? Both diplomatically and economically positioning itself?
Very much so. Kenya and Germany held their first joint implementation committee meeting.
Under that comprehensive migration and mobility partnership, boosting legal migration, skills development for potentially 200,000 young Kenyans.
It addresses critical human capital needs while opening pathways. And Nairobi hosted that halal business development workshop too.
Aiming to be a regional hub for that huge global halal market, what is it, nearly $6 trillion?
Something like that, yeah. It's a smart move to diversify and tap into new markets. Plus, they engaged that U.S. lobbying firm.
To inform U.S. policymakers on key interests, trade, tourism, their South Sudan and Djibouti signed agreements late August for new river and dry ports, Juba, Bor, rank under the White Nile Corridor Plan.
The aim is to give landlocked South Sudan direct maritime access through Djibouti, integrating it into their port system, cutting logistics costs.
How transformative could that White Nile corridor be?
Potentially, it's a game changer for South Sudan, reduces logistics costs massively, vital for trade, and it further solidifies Djibouti's strategic importance as the gateway.
Even with competition from Mogadishu's upgraded port.
Exactly. It shows Djibouti proactively working to reduce economic isolation for its neighbors and foster regional trade. Strategic foresight to maintain its critical hub status. They also formalized political consultations with Somalia, too, strengthening ties there.
Okay, finally, let's touch on Sudan. Amidst its devastating civil war, it's also looking for new diplomatic and economic lifelines.
A desperate search, really.
Sources indicate Sudan's finance minister visited Doha, Qatar, end of August, discussing a gold refinery project seeking direct Qatari financial aid.
Especially crucial after the UAE suspended gold trade with Sudan earlier. Intensifies Khartoum's reliance on finding other partners.
And on the security front, Sudan's intelligence chief visited Mogadishu, reaffirming cooperation with Somalia.
Yes. Now, while officials denied any link between the Sudan and UAE delegations visiting Mogadishu on the same day,
speculation arose.
Inevitably. Because Sudan cut ties with the UAE earlier this year, accusing Abu Dhabi of backing the RSF.
So it shows how Sudan's internal conflict is rippling outwards.
Clearly. Impacting everything from gold trade to strategic airport usage. Analysts suggest Sudan might be increasingly relying on places like Bosaso and Puntland for logistical operations. It's a stark reminder of how internal conflict can destabilize an entire region.
Wow. Okay, what a deep dive into the Horn of Africa. We've really seen a region where, ancient rivers spark modern rivalries, global powers jostle for influence, and local communities grapple with both intense conflict and, the immense promise of development.
It's such a dynamic and complex tapestry.
So many urgent threads.
And your sources reveal just how profoundly interconnected all these issues are. Counterterrorism efforts affecting migration patterns, trade deals influencing geopolitical alliances, the foundational role of water resources.
Right.
The core insight, really, is that every piece impacts the next. It's a constantly evolving landscape where nothing exists in isolation.
So what does this all mean for you as you observe these complex dynamics unfold? What's the final thought?
Well, as Ethiopia prepares to inaugurate the GED and these regional military missions, including Egypt's deployment to Somalia, intensify, consider this.
Okay.
How will this increasing entanglement of global interests alongside the fierce pursuit of national sovereignty by each country continue to reshape the Horn of Africa? And, maybe more importantly, what unexpected alliances or perhaps conflicts might emerge from this incredibly intricate web in the coming months?
That is a profound question, underscores the region's enduring significance.
Absolutely. It's something for you to keep a close eye on.
It's certainly a lot to think about and always more to explore. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Horn of Africa.